This is an addendum to I Saw a UFO, Are We Deceived video. I took off the second half. I'm leaving this one just UFO focused. And if you've already seen it, you can go to the 9-minute and 13-second mark to see the second half. Thank you.
Early yesterday morning, just before dawn, this appeared in the Norwegian sky. A blue light, small at first, growing into a spiral, and then disappearing into what appeared to be a black hole. In the northern community of Trondelag and on a Norwegian military base, cell phones snapped, video cameras rolled, and bloggers got busy.
Tonight, Norwegian authorities are investigating strange lights seen in the Arctic sky. The spiraling white light was seen for several minutes Wednesday morning. Locals say the light appeared to be bigger than the moon. Thousands of Norwegians bombarded the Meteorological Institute to ask what that light could have possibly been. Some feared it could have been a meteor, others a black hole, and there are even those that thought it could be aliens.
A strange spiralling white light was spotted in the early morning sky over Sydney, with even sceptical witnesses wondering if it was a UFO. The unusual sight was recorded by hundreds of people from Victoria north to Queensland.
A spiral in the sky around...
Hi everyone. And yes, you read the title right, and I will get into that in a moment. But first I want to say this is probably the 4th time that I've tried to make this video, or I start out with audio. And as the days have crept by, there has been more and more confirmation and more growth on the subject that I'm going to talk about today, which I find it really interesting, and it's going to turn into a longer video than what I really wanted to. As you all know, I don't like to make real long videos because people's attention span isn't very long. It was it was 3 days ago, and it was the most amazing situation, and I'm going to start out from the beginning. On the very day or that evening that I saw the UFO, I was led to cleanse out my home and to pray over the home.
Good morning, Canary. My sleepy. Oh, goodness gracious me. I forgot all about that nest last night. Oh, what was that as well?
And my front and backyard, my neighbors, kind of the whole neighborhood, almost like putting the area in a bubble. And, I'll do that randomly because, people will come and go, and sometimes I just feel led to do that. Well, this time I really felt the presence of the Lord. So that happens, and I just felt all this peace, and I go to sleep. And then it was like I get wide awake at 3:53 in the morning. Now, who wakes up wide awake at 3:53 in the morning? Not me, normally. And I just wake up, and I'm laying there, and I'm going, what do I do? I can't sleep. Okay, what does the Lord want? What's going on? I need to pray. So how I knew it was 3:53 was because there's a digital clock in the kitchen, and I saw the time before I went outside, and it was a beautiful, crisp, and clear evening. I went outside, and I noticed how I could see the stars, which is unusual in the northwest of the States. And so I stepped outside of the deck so I could see the stars, and I was just talking to the Lord, kind of not understanding why he had me wide awake or who he may wanted me to pray for or something. And I was looking at the stars, and I'm saying, God, you know every name of these stars. And it was just massive. Sometimes when you look at the stars, you see how massive the universe is and how he created it all and how glorious it is and how those stars are there to give him glory. That's how I see it. And then in my preferential vision, I saw something movement. So I turn around, And I look up to the movement, and there were 3 lights that were moving across the sky just above the pine trees. So it was low to the ground. And the lights were exactly in a triangular shape, but like an elongated triangle, not a, I don't know how most people view triangles. You know, triangles are different, different side lengths and stuff. Well, this one was kind of like an elongated triangle. And the reason how I knew that was because of the 3 white lights that were slowly, just silently, there was zero sound, zero, moving across the sky just above my head. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking, wow. And it was huge. It was huge. And I am not good at distances, so I'm not even going to try to tell you how big it was. But it was big enough to where when you look at it, even though it was higher up in the sky, it looked pretty big, okay? Which meant it was bigger than what it looks. You know how like you'd see an airplane flying, right? It's small to our eyes, but when you get to the airplane, it's really big. And I just watched it, just go in a straight direction towards the west and keep on going till it faded into the horizon. Either they shut off the lights or it faded into the horizon. I cannot tell you how fast it was going. So I stood there and then I said, wow, Lord, what was that? And I prayed, but I noticed that my faith was shaken a little bit because I was just admiring the beautiful stars and the glory of the universe and the glory of God and His creation when this unidentified flying object flies over my head. And it's like, wow, right? And the reason why it was shaken was I'm thinking, I went through this process that I'm going to share with you is, did God make these aliens? Did they know about Jesus? Right? And what do they think? Like, what's going on here? And blah, blah, blah. And my mind started going and I realized that I was being shaken. There was this shaking of the wheat and the tares. And I realized it and I thought, you know what? I don't care if it was an alien in that craft or a UFO. And I prayed and I came to the understanding was that you have to remember I was a war photojournalist, and when I was in war zones, twice did I see objects that were unidentified. We had no name for them at that time, but they were literal military designs funded by whoever and built by whoever that was not released to the public. So we did not know them. We did not know their names, and they were different. So I'm imagining that this is something like that. This is a military object that we don't know about yet. And, you know, we've lost billions of dollars in the Pentagon. It could be just for these things. So there's that transition of UFO into being shaken into deception. So, do you remember that I said seeing the UFO shook my faith a bit? And it did, because there are so many things that we do not know anything about, and the universe is really big. So on one hand, we imagine that we are the only existing living creatures in the entire universe, you know, like the center of it all. Depending on which nation was creating maps back in the old days, do you know that they would make their own country in the center of the world map with all the other countries surrounding it? And in the past, we even thought that it was the sun that circled our Earth, and it was the Earth that was the center of our universe. So we have very limited knowledge, right? So we know that through scriptural writings that there are angels and creatures that are described in Revelation, Daniel, Ezekiel, Isaiah, and so on. But we understand that through faith, there is a God who sits on the throne who created all beings, right? So the mind gets a little jarred when you see a UFO because we are limited. And when there are things that we don't understand that are new, sometimes our brains can't circle around it. So as I'm making this video, I'm actually processing this experience for myself and sharing that with you. So some of my family, just to tell you, laughs and make fun of the fact that I actually saw a UFO. So here you have some input from the social construct, right? The immediate environment, people just kind of jokingly talk about UFOs, and if you've seen one, you're kind of like lost your marbles, right? So, but that doesn't help, does it? Because you know that your eyes saw something that was different than anything you have seen or know about before. Okay, and unidentified flying objects. But on the spiritual side, on the Christian side, they also laugh or do not take it seriously when I share my dreams or my spiritual experiences. Isn't that how the world is too? So, but some people who are not believers, many of them follow UFOs and have different spiritual belief systems. But when you're a believer and your foundation is that rock of Jesus Christ and the scriptures, it could shake one up a bit, right? So I'll tell you, it can become a very lonely world being a believer. So there is no way, let me tell you, that I would share this in my home group. You get what I'm saying? No way. So when a person like my world has been shattered a bit with concepts that are beyond our capability of reasoning, then what can we do? I think that we need to take a very deep breath and stand strong. We need to gather the extra energy inside of us when we feel like there isn't any left to stand on. And it's not easy to do. We need to find that faith that we know of and try not to look at the world around us. Meaning, at the things that are there, right? And we need to look at the truth of the things that are not seen. In 1 Corinthians 2:1, it says, "Now concerning things offered to idols, we know that we all have knowledge, and knowledge puffs up, but love edifies." You notice that knowledge puffs up, okay? Which is interesting because most of the scriptures about knowledge in the Bible express knowledge as good because it's the biblical knowledge they're talking about. But the worldly knowledge, it works its slithering way into our minds and can be filled with so much head knowledge. We can embrace it, the logical and rational thought process, and the result will entice us away from the truth and cause utter confusion, and it can strip one faith to the utter core. Worldly knowledge without faith becomes foolish, and they will begin to speak foolishness, as in Isaiah 32:6. They will work iniquity and practice ungodliness to utter error against the Lord, and keeps the hungry unsatisfied. He will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. Isn't that interesting in that verse? Because Jesus Christ satisfies our hunger. He satisfies our good. But if you look at the foolish, the worldly knowledge, right? Their works become inequity. And then we can't be satisfied by that, ever. It doesn't satisfy us. So what am I getting at here? There's a lot of sightings. There's a lot of people that have had literal personal experiences. Where does that leave me? What it led my mind is a possible deception. I hear a lot of people talking about aliens, reptilians, all these kind of things. I feel like it's important that we have our eyes on the Lord and on the scriptures, not on all that stuff. And I say that, then I have an experience. I'm processing it. So one of the great deceptions I'm thinking of, and I know that this is longer than I wanted it to be, but oh well, is what if there really are alien UFOs out there? And what if the battle is in the unseen world, and that is part of the unseen world that we have not seen? Or what if, the Nephilim, the fallen angels who have come down, they teach metals and precious goods and how to use herbs and all these things. How do we know that part of that unseen world is actually the battle that we're in right now, as including aliens? Maybe it's the aliens. I'm just throwing this out there, okay? But because I saw one now, I'm in a different place. So could it be that it's the aliens that have passed down knowledge throughout history, and to this day we have that knowledge, and that is the technology, and that technology is getting our eyes off of the Lord and causing all kinds of stuff? We know about frequencies and things like that, and how they can change moods, wake people up, make them have to go to the bathroom. All those things are real and scientifically studied. That's the world knowledge, isn't it? That's all world knowledge. So what's our deception? There's a lot of deception, guys. I don't know if I'm just waking up or what, And so that deception through all these thousands of years that has accumulated to this point of technology, there's more accumulation of world knowledge, and that leads to deception. It takes our eyes away from the Father. Adam and Eve ate the apple. Why? To gain knowledge. Okay? What did it do? It took their lives and our very own as well. They ate the apple. We have been eating the apple. We're already eating the apple. The apple of technology, the apple of these little whatever new AI thing that can be invented to help with medical situations. I think we're already eating the apple. All the material things. The apple, that knowledge, has slithered its way into our normal existence. And be aware, guys, we are eating the apple as a society. Stay away from the apple. God bless you. I hope this helped.